Thank you very much, and great to be here. I passed the first challenge of actually finding the room. I had to go up this little alleyway, and I've left breadcrumbs so I can return from where I came. My story is completely different to Rowena's in that we're upstream, and in fact Rowena and I have been in discussions with respect to product going to the wonderful Dubbo development that she's just spoken about. So this is more the classic Australian mining, which is dig it up and concentrate it and move it out. So without further ado, so this is us, VHM. East Coast, this is the whole basis of this discussion today. We're in the great state of Victoria. Yes, the great state of Victoria. We have some great assets in the Murray Basin, nearest town Swan Hill. Our tenements, well, in fact, our mineralisation extends over 55 kilometres, so it's a massive resource and, in fact, can create a huge new industry for Victoria. Whilst all the original sandstone buildings were built on the back of gold, there's a great opportunity to sort out the debt on the back of rare earths and mineral sands. You're going to hear me talk about the Goshen project. We selected, rather than try and find, the perfect project, we just picked one that worked really well, and we took that forward to permitting. And further to the earlier comments that made, permitting remains an issue in this country, and it is my biggest hurdle. So who are we? New miner in the Murray Basin, and I'm using new miner now because we're going to be in production at the end of 2025. We're construction ready, albeit with the caveat a permit about to arrive. We also, unlike complexity of creating metals, we're very simple. This mineralisation was the result of the erosion of the Boga granites in the Mallee region, and so essentially the mineralisation occurs in lenses within a sand setting. So at the wash zone, as the inland sea came up against the granites, it actually concentrated, so you see all the strand lines, which are actually the rare earths where they've concentrated. It comes to near surface, 6 metres in sand, so I'd call that market gardening rather than mining, but we do call it mining. Dual commodities, and that's really important, and you'll hear that in a minute, in that it's both mineral sands and rare earths. As Rowena spoke to, we have a compelling mineral assemblage, and I have a slide on that as well, so I won't spend much time on it here. Advanced approvals, I've got a slide on that, and we own the land as well, so we went and acquired the land we needed to mine for the first 20 years, and once again, it's multi-generational. It will be there for a long time. So, and this is a key part of the story, the Goldilocks price. And I'm talking about rare earths here, and if I think anyone that's been in this business as long as I and got as grey hair as I have will know that whenever you see a price go up, suddenly it is going to return suddenly. You need to actually use the regress to the mean as a way of predicting future prices. And in fact, as you can see in 2021, the price of the rare earth used NdPr as the value started to move very dramatically. And the big supplier, the gorilla in the room, being China, and China is that gorilla because the Western nations didn't want to, were exporting their environmental issues to China. And a lot of the southern China rare earths are actually in situ leaching. And so it's actually doing grave damage to the environment. And as Rowena said, it is possible to do a different way, but that is currently the West exporting their issues to the East. And they have done very well. If you look at the the last 30 years, all the patents and the IP in this industry are actually 70% by Chinese. And now they have reached a position, and this is why there is this rush by Western governments to come up with alternate supply paths and new, because the East have now said we are not going to export that IP to others. You are now 30 years behind. This is a strategic minerals to us, and we're going to keep them strategic. And there's more to that. And so the markets come back. So right now, if you look at my financials, I'm a mineral sands producer rather than the rare earths producer. And so that is about where we are. The challenge at this moment in time is the fact that China immediately responded when the prices went up. The Goldilocks position for them is just at the price where they're making money from their manufacturing, but they're stopping new entry. That's what it's about. However, anyone who thinks that the price is going to continue up on the peak that you see there, it's a bit like lithium at this moment in time as well. It is not sustainable. Anyway, let's go on. So what do we do? As I mentioned, we have both the lights, and you heard Rowena speak to that, and the heavies, DYTB, and they're pretty important. And then the mineral sands. And without those, that dual revenue stream, I wouldn't be talking about starting a project. And I can do it because I do have the dual revenue stream. Simple process, come out of the ground, get started, and the upside is the rare earths, because they will trend up, driven by the physicals. And what I mean by that is every day you see in the marketplace more EVs, more turbines, and you know, monthly or quarterly there may be a slowdown as people move to hybrids because of some reason, but the reality is the thematic of decarbonisation is occurring. It will keep going. And we have things that are important. So the great East Coast rare earth, we have an absolute powerhouse down in Victoria, which can feed to Dubbo, of rare earths with the heavies in it, which are not available in most deposits of rare earths, and they're critical to defence, US defence, for instance, and to, I'm going to say, the US requires an awful lot of dysprosium for its nuclear submarines and its fighters, so it finds it pretty critical that other nations start producing this and they don't rely just on China. So it's very important. There's a whole lot of it down the Murray Basin, and it should be a reason for us to power this forward. You know that we talk about electric vehicles, wind turbines, etc., but at the end of the day, rare earths go into these things, everything we do. So as we move forward into the future and our children's future, and say you need rare earths. Right now, there isn't substitution. And here's the bit on the heavies, and it's mentioned a bit by the special formulas that Rowena spoke about. Standard, you know, NdFe magnets. They've got a limited range. Sprinkle a little bit of dysprosium and terbium into them, and they're super class. And that's why they're necessary for defence and heat. And if you want to shrink things down and be more efficient, and say, go to the top of the range, and they're the heavies. And so they're really important, and we can create a whole industry on the East Coast if we just focus on this and help us move forward. And the other side, and so there are the rare earths, the other side of the things that we do is the zircon and titania, and I say that's about urbanisation. It's tiles, it's paints, it's all that. And there's 1.4 billion Indians and still 200 billion Chinese and, you know, a billion Africans. They all want to live like us. And so as long as that's occurring, there's going to be growth. So good second revenue stream, or at this very moment in time with the depressed rare earths, good first revenue stream. And I say the markets are driven by physicals, and that is because more and more EVs, more and more turbines, it will overrun the pressure that the Chinese have put on the prices at this moment in time. Supply and demand will always work. Assume the spikes are gone, it will have a long-term growth and it will regress to the mean. So you'll see it just steadily trend up. Do not make an investment on a high point. And this is us. This is the 5 million tonne per annum process plant with going to carbonate. You know, Rowena's wants our product, so we're joined at the hips in some way. But as I said, we're looking at something smaller than that and going to bootstrap our way up, because that I've got to deal with the market I have, with the balance sheet that I have. And so we've found a pathway forward. So as we accelerate to production, what are we doing? We have completed our feasibility studies. We have a detailed design. We went to permitting, and I'm going to show that slide in a minute. We have an offtake with Shanghai, which is a very large Chinese offtaker, and how did the Australian government feel about that? As long as they don't enter our register and buy our shares, a commercial transaction is perfectly fine, because I can't go ahead unless I can sell the product, and they are stepping up to support us. They are. We've now entered into an agreement with an engineering company and a mining company. The mining company is a local Bendigo-based mining company. They're doing the mining just 100 k's up the road, identical, so we have absolute clarity on how we're going to do this and how it's going to go ahead. And now I'm going to get to the tricky bit. The one thing that remains is the final permit. And the final permit is the major permit. Let me explain the Victorian system for you. We spent 2 years with the government departments taking them through how we're going to develop and operate this facility such that it meets all their requirements. After 2 years, the planning minister said we could go to the public and have a public display. And then there was a panel with 3 elected panel members that sat for 5 weeks, which we paid for as well. And during that panel, I must admit, I was called a few names by farmers. However, it has been completed and it has gone back to the minister for her signature, having signed it once. And I'm sitting here and I do believe in circa 30 days, I'm there. They have followed the process very well. I go to the Treasurer and I go to the Resource Minister, and they're my best friends. However, the Planning Minister is the person with the pen that has my future in her hands. So I have a pretty good confidence level. However, it is government, and so I'm not going to put my card from my table and bet that. So confident, but wary. And this is us. First, doing the final work now. We've got to do some work with plans and etc. First quarter next year, FID, final investment decision. The board will have considered that risks have been put at such a level that they're comfortable that we can deliver on this and make money. And then I'm out to market and we're away. And then you better have your plant ready by December of 2025, because I've got product. And this is you can't have a mining slide without a cross section and something mentioned on it, or a few rocks. So here it is. Our mineral resource is huge. The reserve is 200. We stopped. Like there, it's just going to keep on going. Where we are from Gosham, if you go to Area 4, it's at 6 metres. It comes out at 2 metres. You've got these high grades. They're all cut off by roads and that, because we don't want to upset anyone. But it is a great asset. It should power Victoria and solve a lot of their debts. And there's not only us, it actually, the whole Murray Basin runs down to the, Astron project, etc. This is an opportunity for Victoria to actually be a world leader in those metals that are needed for our kids' future. They just have to grasp it and give us support. And Rowena spoke to this, so I'm going to spend no time on it whatsoever. Everyone is trying to find the alternate supply chains. It's important we do it as ecosystems, so I work with Rowena, I work with Aluka. They've got a whole pile of taxpayers' money to do the Iniaba refinery. Linus is doing a refinery in Kalgoorlie. We don't all have to get to metal, we just have to work together. And governments have to see it that way as well. How do we help each other? This industry is hard enough as it is if we don't work together. So, and everyone's interested. It's a matter of what is necessary to actually get to the outcome you're after. And our outcome is simple. It's a mine concentrating to a rare earth and a mineral sands concentrate, simple products that everyone can take. I'll let the smarter stuff of turning into metal to smarter people than me, like Rowena and her team. I'll just do the stuff at the other end. And so what's coming up? Well, of course, the next thing is the planning permit given. And so everyone cross your fingers and wish me well and write to the local minister. And then it is just the standard process going through and production. I hope to be here in a hard hat next year because I'm building something. So thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate your time and